Here is how I 3D kitbashed a Helldiver. Before we begin, as scary as it is, I wanted to announce that I started a Patreon. If you find what I do helpful, entertaining, or some other third thing, I'd greatly appreciate if you consider joining and supporting me. Your support would help me maintain the time and effort it takes to keep making videos. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Alright, Helldivers is so hot right now. There have been a ton of excellent Helldiver kitbashes going around. I saw this one from a guy named Nork Dead Dog on Reddit that really inspired me. Make sure to upvote the heck out of that post. I haven't blessed y'all with one of my drawings in a while, so here's the plan for today. We're gonna need a helmet, cape, and some cool looking armor. I found a free Helldiver helmet already fit for miniatures on Thingiverse. Then, for the body, the Universal Guard Shock Command Squad from the Maker's Cult was perfect. Finally, Nork used these awesome 3D printable cloaks from Victoria Miniatures, so I did the same. I used Blender to dry fit everything together to make sure things were looking right. This way you can fix things if needed. Like, this cape was blowing in the opposite direction of the flag, so I knew I needed to mirror it before printing. Also, I thought it would be cool to add the Super Earth flag. The Maker's Cult kit comes with a good flag, but I really wanted the flag to be blank so I could add my own transfer. If you're curious about how to do transfers, I have a tutorial on making and applying custom transfer sheets. I could have used the blank flag that was already in the kit, but I decided to make my own flag and, quite frankly, avoid searching for a 1.2mm brass rod that would work. I first cut off the existing flag with a box and a Boolean difference. Then, in edit mode, I pressed P, and then separated by loose parts to separate the flag so I could later delete it. I imported a plane, went into edit mode, and started to move and pressed E to extrude vertices, and roughly followed the shape of the existing flag. Then I selected the inner fold edges, and with the bevel tool added a curve. You can increase the segments in the little pop-up that appears to smooth the curves. You can also adjust the shape by using the same pop-up. Then, in object mode, I added a solidify modifier to give it some thickness. I printed everything out, and all I had to do was to glue everything together. The flag gave me some trouble when I was gluing it because it was so delicate with not a lot of surface area for glue. Once the super glue dried, I went in with some sprue goo, which is old plastic sprue mixed in with some plastic cement, and ran some along the edge of the flag. I like doing this to fill gaps and to strengthen weak parts. I feathered the edges with plastic glue. Again, it would have been easier and sturdier in this case to just use the existing blank flag and take the time to find a brass rod. However, this flag making technique would be useful for making a flowing cape or anything that has these kinds of curves. With the Helldiver assembled, it was time for paint. I recently got an Artist Opus dry brush and wanted to test it out. Instead of a zenithal highlight like I normally do, I just primed with dark neutral gray and then sprayed up from below with red to make the shadows warmer. Then, to paint the armor, I used dry brushing. I started with Panzer Ace's dark rubber, then moved on to Model Color French Mirage Blue, and finally mixed in a little ivory to the French Mirage Blue for the final dry brush. Each step involved dry brushing smaller and smaller areas with lighter and lighter colors to add highlights and depth. Helldivers 2 has tons of cool looking armor types and colors, but the most iconic look is the black and yellow. I used my character in the game as reference. With a few thin coats of Pro Acryl Yellow, I recreated my character's armor. I added some white into the yellow to help with coverage and, with a sharp brush, painted a design onto the cape. I cleaned up the lines with some French Mirage Blue as best I could. I also added some texture onto the cape while I was at it. Freehand for me is going to be one of those things I slowly get better at. Also, it's hard to film with a big light in the way. That's my excuse at least. I painted the visor, the flagpole, and parts of his gun with coal black. In hindsight, I really should have tried to airbrush the flag to get it ultra smooth, but here we are again. I used Pro Acryl Blue as a base, and then tried to smoothly transition to sky blue on the highest points. I'm decently happy with how this turned out, and I guess it's a good way to try new things. The final step before weathering was adding the transfers I made. I soaked the transfers in water for about a minute, and then added them to the Mini. Then it was time to weather and highlight. I went around the Mini and added deep scratches with black and brown, and then highlighted under with the base armor color mixed with white. If you add little dots and scratches of a light color, it can look like little chips. This is pretty easy to do, and people seem to think it takes a lot more effort than it really does. I also highlighted and added little scratches onto the yellow armor. I really wanted white skulls on there, so I tried to paint over the skull transfers on his helmet with white, then added some black dots for eyes. It's not perfect, but from an arm's length away they look pretty good. I did the same for some of the flag. The skull on the top of the flag was painted with metal color copper, and all the rivets were painted with steel. I also added a touch of steel to the most weathered areas. I panel lined with Nuln oil to create some separation between parts, like his hand and his gun. Finally, I painted his base, and the Helldiver was done and ready to help spread the joy of democracy to the world. This was a really fun one. I could see having a kill team or Majestic 13 squad full of these guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe. Please consider checking out my Patreon and affiliate links below to help support the channel. Thanks again. Alright, bye-bye.